All right, let's talk about bubble sorts. Bubble sorts are a way of taking an array and reordering them to put them in order. Now you might ask, why do we need to do that? And it's because in JavaScript, lists in arrays don't always get sorted the way that you would expect. So let me give you an example. I'm going to copy and paste. Well, actually, I better create an HTML page first. Do that. Add in some script tags. And I'll paste in some code. All right, what we have here is a list of items that are strings, and then we call this array function, array method called sort, and then I'm going to print it out to the screen. So let's see what happens. All right, I did console.log, so let me inspect. And I come over to console, and I see it got ordered correctly. So one would think that if you did something with numbers, for example, that this would also work fine. All right, so let me replace all of that code with the same thing except with prices. Now I know this would be an egregious price, $20,000 for a donut, but it will serve our purpose today for demonstrations. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I go back to the other window, and it says 10, 20,000, 3, and 50. Now in terms of ordinal increase here, this doesn't make any sense at all, does it? And so if you look at it for a pattern here, it looks like it's treating it like a string where whatever's at the beginning seems to be the thing that determines the order. So this is not going to work for us at all. And so what we need to do is do a mathematical comparison in each spot and move it over. And so I'm going to iteratively go through this idea of swapping spaces. All right, so let us first set this up with a loop, because it makes sense that if we want to go through things and move them from right to left, if it's lower, that a loop would help us do that. So let me get rid of that since it doesn't work. And I'm setting up a loop. There's nothing in there yet, but I know that if I accessed donut prices index 0, 1, 2, 3, and then compared it to the thing to the right of it, then I can see if one is bigger than another. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on comparisons then. So I only want to move it over if the thing on the right is smaller. So I go if, and I'll do my array, and I'll say the thing on the left, if it's greater than the thing that's directly to the right of it, and so I can find the thing directly to the right of it in the list by doing count plus 1. All right, so now I've got some logic. I've captured the case when something's bigger on the left, and in other cases, like where it's not bigger on the left, then it just won't execute what's in there at all. Okay, so now I'm thinking I want to swap items whenever the thing on the left is bigger. So what I'll do is I will grab that, and I'm going to say, since you're bigger, I want to set you to the thing on the right. Now, the way this works right now is when I do the first comparison, since it's setting the thing on the right to the thing on the left, that at the moment that this executes, then both the thing in position 0 and the thing in position 1 are both going to be 10. So I've lost, or I've clobbered that first number, and I needed to find some way to preserve it. So I'm just going to call it a holding variable. I'll set up a variable for that so I can hold it in the future. So I'll say I hold price, and then before I clobber it, I will say I hold price equals the thing that's on the left. And then after the thing on the left has been replaced with the thing directly under it, I can then take the thing directly under it and give it the thing that once was above it. So I'm going to take this lower item and grab the thing, grab this variable that I was storing for later usage, And so the way this works then is it's first going to compare this to this, and if this is bigger, it will swap them. Then array index becomes, or the loop index there becomes 1, so then it's comparing this with the thing directly after it, 1 and 2, compares those, and then it compares 2 and 3, and if needed, it does a swap. So let's see what happens there. I hit save, I come out, and it says 10, 50, 3, and 20,000. Well, it's not in the like alphabetic looking order or whatever it is that we had before, where we're picking the first character from each of these, but it's still problematic because this 3 that was at the end has only been moved over once. The way that we did these side-by-side comparisons one at a time and never going back again made it so that 2000 was able to keep on being moved down and then eventually end up at the end. But 3 only got checked in the last switch, so it only moved forward 1. All right, so the truth is that we had a good idea here, but it just wasn't quite right. We need to iteratively go over this list and keep on making more comparisons. And one of the ways we can do that is by referencing the same list in 2 different for loops, and in effect allowing us to compare the thing on the left to the thing on the right. So let's go ahead and expand this out. So I'm going to have an outer loop and an inner loop. The outer loop is going to represent the variable on the left, and the inner loop is going to represent the variable on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this and say I outer index, and I'm going to have a lot of copying and pasting here to do. Everywhere where it says I count, I'm going to fix that. I got some other things to fix in here as well. Okay, so that's good, but I need to do something about this inner thing. Before I was just referencing the thing on the right, but now instead of just referencing the thing on the right, I'm going to do it in a loop so I can go over it more than one time. So I'll say for I inner index equals, and so I want it to, since I'm going to compare the thing on the left to the right, I want that where I start with to be whatever's directly to the right of this guy. So I'll say I outer index plus 1. So the first time I go through this loop, this is going to be set to 1. Then later on, after this does whatever it does several times, this is going to get incremented to 1 from 0. And then when we start this loop again, this is going to be 1 plus 1 equals 2. So then we'll be comparing index 1 and 2. All right, I'll continue building this out here. And I'll say while I inner index is less than the number of prices dot length. All right, third time's a charm. I inner index plus plus. Okay, and then I need to wrap all of this in parentheses, or curly braces rather. So I'm going to wrap up that if statement. Okay, and now what I want to do is compare the thing on the left, which is going to be this, with, instead of that, the thing on the right. And everywhere where it says, as I do my switches, I can do this. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and give it a save and go out and see. Now we need to launch this, and let's hopefully we see good things. Yes. Okay, so everything is ordered just like we would hope, and we're very happy. So how did this happen? let's use the debugger to help us understand better how the bubble sort works. So I go over to sources, and I'm going to click a breakpoint right here, and I'm going to reload the page. All right, let's watch as things happen. And actually, I want to add in some additional things. I have outer. Now, I had done this before. If I needed to do it from scratch, I could clear it all out, and I could type in I hold. Well, I already have that down below, so I don't need to add that one. But I'll do I inner index, and I also want to keep track of I outer index. Okay, so we're on this first line as the page begins to execute. Right now, we can see that this array doesn't hold anything yet because it hasn't executed this part on the right side of the page. I'm going to, or the right side of the statement, I'm going to click step. It goes down to the next line, and having completed that step, now this particular variable holds an array with 4 items in it, and we can see what the contents of those items are. Let's step forward one. I outer index is about to be set. Looks like I have the wrong spelling there. Let's fix that. I outer index. There we go. So I outer index got set to 0. Step forward. And now we're on that second for loop. So basically we're just trying to say, hey, let's have something to the, let's pick an index to the right of whatever this outer loop has. So it could be this, this, or this, depending on where we're at in the loop. So initially we're saying inner index is going to be 1, set to 1. And that'll allow us to do a comparison. So now here's our first comparison. So if the thing in position 0, which is 20,000, is greater than the thing which is in position 1, which is 10, it should execute the following things. All right, let's watch that happen. Step I hold price is now equal to nothing, but it will be in a second. Now it's holding 20,000. We're going to do a swap here. So look at the arrays right now. I go forward one. Now we see that we have this thing that we were keeping aside, and the thing that was in position 2 is also now in position 0. Now we need to overwrite that with that, as happens on this line. And that happens, and it's been updated. Now we're going to continue that internal loop. We're doing a plus plus. So now we're still comparing the thing that's in position 0. It's always going to be 0 until we finish looking at all of the items in the array. And once we finish in this inner loop, then we'll go back out and increment it so that we can compare position 1 with everything else. But for now, we're just going to keep on comparing position 0 with everything else over and over again. All right, so moving forward, we're now asking is the thing on the left here, which is currently 10, is that greater than the thing in position 2? It is. And so it's skipped. So let's actually just think about that again really quick. So if 0, oh, it's if it's greater, is 10 greater than 50? It is not, and so that's why it did not execute. So we're going to try it again as it increments. Okay, now we're seeing is the thing in 0, which is 10, is that greater than the thing which is in position 3? And 10 is greater than 3, so it's going to execute the swap. So there it goes. And we've gone through that inner loop. So now we're going back out to the outer loop, and we're going to move away from evaluating position 0 and everything then after it to evaluating 1 and then everything as it relates to position 1. So we go through, and now our inner loop is comparing the thing in position 1 with the thing in position 2, as we can see. And as needed. It continues the swapping process, but moving further down the list. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we're very happy that it works. Yeehaw. Okay, so that's how we were able to sort this list. However, in the bigger scheme of things, oftentimes we're going to be using a bubble sort to get some organization related to a set of variables. So I'm going to overwrite these right here. And when I said set of variables, I really mean a set of arrays. So what we oftentimes like to do is say, hey, let's pick arbitrarily pick one of the things that have numbers in it, like the list of calories associated with these donuts, or the list of prices associated with these donuts, and then sort based on these. So let's just go ahead and continue to sort on prices. The trick here is we need to reorder these arrays at the exact same moment that we're reordering this in the bubble sort. And so how can we do that? I'm going to add in some comments here. And I'm going to say right here, I'm doing handle the prices switch. But I also need to do the calories and the donut names. So I'm just going to copy and paste this because I can take advantage of the fact that they're all in the same order, so as what I had up at the top. So when I switch the prices, for position 0 and 1 for prices, I also need to switch the name for 0 and 1 in the other array for donut names. So everything continues to stay in the same orders that they were before. Or at least the prices stick with the correct donuts if we were counting on the fact that there was some symmetry here. Like this is all for donuts, for apple, this is all for chocolate, this is all for glazed, etc. Okay, so going back to these comments, let's now handle the donut name switch, and then we're going to handle the calories switch. And there's not a lot that we need to do. We just need to change out the name of the array that we're working on. Well, we also are going to have to get a different holding variable here too. But let's go ahead and do that. I want to grab donuts. So prices, 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 prices. And then let's add in some additional things here. Let's say let I hold name and let I hold calorie. If I had made this more generic, I could have just left it as the holder for everything, and it would have worked fine. But all right, that's the name. And then for this one, we'll do calorie. So it's the exact same swapping mechanism using the same indexes, just using different index names. Or sorry, different array names is what I meant to say. All right, and then I need to get the array for this last one. All right, hopefully I've replaced everything as I was supposed to. And let me add in some additional logging statements. Console.log ps donuts. And then we also need the calories. All right, let's hit save, and we'll find out if we were successful or not. Here's a page I was working with before. We go over to the console, and I did not print out something correctly, but it's looking closer. I had donut prices twice, so let's just go RGS donuts right here. And hit save. All right. Now I see plain 3, 200. All right, let's just see if that matches up with our intuition. So if we sorted them based on prices, what's 3? So 3 corresponds to plain, and it has 200 calories. So 3 plain 200. Yes. Okay. How about 10? 10 corresponds to chocolate. It has 300 calories. So 10 chocolate 300. All right, let's go to apple. Apple has $200 and 500 calories. So apple, $200, 500 calories. All right, we have been successful. So I would encourage you to practice at this point, especially if you're in a situation where you're going to be tested on something like this. Try out different lists and then try sorting by different things. In fact, you might try to figure out right now how you would sort not based on donut prices, but by donut calories by changing something in the code below. Good luck.